Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price this Thursday as we had our first test of 58,300. And if you take the support level that Bitcoin has followed since we bottomed out and we were to look at this resistance, we're currently showing confluence with this $58,353 level with a daily candle body closing extremely thin, just a wick at this level. That's a big puzzle piece to talk about today. But what's more important is that we are inside of this upper range of the channel, which obviously in the past has acted as a major resistance here for Bitcoin at 53,000. And the question is, are we going to be seeing a rejection back down towards this $44,800 level where we have the monthly open and the 100-day moving average? Or are we going to see this breakthrough to potentially see new all-time highs? Well, a lot of this is going to have to do with what's happening on the micro time frames. But I've been saying that if Bitcoin maintains itself above the weekly open, that the potential for Ethereum to move above this 3454 and 3650 resistance was going to be extremely high. And that's exactly what's happening right now, with Ethereum also trying to come and test this extremely important macro resistance level just below the major resistance of 3959. And then we're going to look at the revolving parts of the market as we always do here on the 4-dimensional Snipers channel. But first, let's dive into this intraday analysis because Bitcoin is in a critical point. So far, of course, we did see this daily candle, as I mentioned, close very thin with a body and a wick that really, we can't necessarily say rejected the $58,353 level, but we're certainly seeing Bitcoin slow down here. And so I think that that's something important to mention. We go into the 6-hour chart. Notice how we also only have a wick at this level. I always tell you guys, you want to wait for the 4-hour and hourly confirmations above major levels to assume a true break. And we've yet to even get an hourly body, candle, and wick fully above this $58,353 level. So until that happens, we have to assume that the range that we're playing in is still going to be this weekly open at 54,800 and 58,353. And if we're able to move back towards this $58,353 level and get those hourly and 4-hour candle closes above it, that would be the most bullish case for Bitcoin to potentially run up and test 61,844. And then, of course, the next roadblock is going to be the previous all-time high at 64,855. Now, if this happens, we also assume the total market cap is ready to break into new all-time highs. And if we look at the total cryptocurrency market cap chart, what you'll notice here is we've yet to really break new highs, but we did break the recent lower high that was formed on the 6th of September. And so Bitcoin has also done that, but Ethereum has not done that. Ethereum being the leading indicator for altcoins, we've yet to break this lower high from September 6th. So that's going to be something interesting to also monitor here with the Ethereum market structure. Now, when we come back to Bitcoin and address some of the downside scenarios, if this $54,800 level breaks, I think that that's going to be a very big concern. So if we start to see hourly and 4-hour candles close below this weekly open, at that point, I'm eyeing this $44,800 level where we have this monthly open. I do understand 49,700 is a major support level that is on the way. However, with the way that the S&P 500 has been reacting to its 100-day and 50-day moving average, I would assume a downside target that would be appropriate would be around this monthly open for Bitcoin. And so I think that that's also important to address. And we know that a lot of volume has been cleared out in the range between this $53,000 and $44,800 level. So the likelihood of price action actually being able to slice through becomes highly likely coming below 54,800. So that's going to be the important level to watch for the support. And then, of course, that $58,353 level clearly showing importance right now. And interestingly enough, a lot of people are looking at this Ethereum to Bitcoin chart with this rescue operation in place at this 200-day moving average. I think that that's also a very interesting puzzle piece right now. We have yet to get back above the 100-day moving average. Most altcoins against Bitcoin are actually not showing as much strength as Ethereum is. And so the question we have to ask ourselves is this really the last breath before we see continued downside? Because the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart did, for the first time since it started to really break out from this 20-week moving average, cross below it with our weekly candle body showing a continuation bearish candle at the 20-week moving average. And so seeing some upside right now is not necessarily surprising that we just came below the 20-week moving average. The same way that when Bitcoin dominance first started to move above its 20-week moving average, it did take some time for it to get fully above it, but yes, you can see we are fully above it right now. Currently with a bearish tail on the weekly candle, but there's 3 days left for this one to close. So we have to still assume that Bitcoin dominance is in the early stages of a reversal, which means that being in Bitcoin is probably the safest hedge right now in the market. With this chart that factors in altcoins outside of Ethereum and Bitcoin, I think this is the first time that it's going to really be important to watch because of the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart kind of lagging right now. Notice how with this chart, we actually rejected this 100-day moving average 3 times already, and we're back between the 100 and 200 period moving average. So maybe that's a puzzle piece for what the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart could potentially do, maybe rejecting this 100-day moving average because it currently is trying to test it, as we just saw. And so I think that that's also an interesting puzzle piece to monitor. And then when we go into some of the revolving parts, the DXY is cooling off. And so I think that that's giving Bitcoin and the other altcoins the opportunity to see the upside that they've been seeing, but we're still above the major support of 93.82. So until we break below it, you can see our daily candle closed with a bullish wick testing it. That is just going to have to continue to be assumed to be in a bullish trend until the DXY is potentially going to break 93.82. If it doesn't, the next target is 95.885. And so the DXY moving up is never a good thing for traditional assets. That's why the S&P 500 has been maintaining price action for the most part below the 50-day and 100-day moving average for quite some time. Today was the first day that we saw it come back towards the 50-day. If we can get above the 50-day moving average of the S&P 500, I think that would be a huge positive for the cryptocurrency market, because that really changes the environment outside of Bitcoin to be in the favor of the bulls and in the favor of more upside. So it's a very, very critical time in my opinion. Japanese markets gapping up above all daily moving averages. That's a positive puzzle piece. But of course, they've been seeing a lot of weakness. Gold recently pushed up to 1794. It's been a while since we've seen gold push up. Nothing really crazy to go home and tell grandma about just yet with gold, but this does kind of give us a little bit of an indication of how institutions are hedging their bets in the market. And so far, it seems like they are a little bit risk off coming into gold. And oil obviously still breaking its new yearly highs, but still yet to conquer the daily candle with the bearish wick, just seeing price action within the range of the wick. And so until that happens, I don't know if we can assume a continuation here for oil just yet. There's a potential we could see some downside, especially with demand still waning off since 2019. It's all about supply and demand once again. You know, one of the interesting puzzle pieces from traditional markets that we have been watching is going to be the silver to Bitcoin chart. Notice how it broke new lows recently, but I want you to look at this gold to Ethereum chart. Notice how it's actually at the support level of a very, very macro structural support here. That's going to be interesting to watch. If we break down below this, that could be an indication of something, because remember, this is how we predicted the top for Bitcoin. On the Snipers channel, we used the gold to Bitcoin chart to predict that Bitcoin was going to potentially top out on April 14th, because we saw this wedge pattern that was potentially aiming to break above the 50-day moving average. And that was exactly what happened in 2018 when Bitcoin topped out at 20,000. We actually saw the same exact thing happen, where the first time that this gold to Bitcoin chart went above this 50-day moving average, it was a confirmation of a top. So we used that as another confirmation, and it turned out to be true so far. But things are actually looking in the favor of Bitcoin on this chart, in my opinion. Being the fact that we crossed back below all daily moving averages on this chart, that shows that Bitcoin is certainly still a lot stronger than gold as a storage of value and as a hedge. And so if this continues to break down, that could also strengthen that thesis that there's two reasons Bitcoin dominance is potentially moving up. Number one, we're seeing a new bull cycle start with Bitcoin, where the total market cap in Bitcoin will rally into new highs, and the altcoins will follow a little bit later, and Bitcoin dominance will potentially come towards the 200-week moving average at 57-ish%. Or the other thesis is that Bitcoin dominance is rising because altcoins are moving into Bitcoin. That could be true because you look at this altcoin list that we have, and a lot of the altcoins are red. And so that could justify where the liquidity is coming from to push Bitcoin's price up to eventually bring the total market cap down, including Bitcoin. And then, of course, Bitcoin sees less downside, and that's why it was smart to move into Bitcoin. That's kind of the patterns of the past playing part if that were to happen. And so those are really the two scenarios that I think that we need to monitor here on the macro for the cryptocurrency market. And with that being said, thank you all for tuning into the Snipers channel today. I'll see you all on the Discord. And we haven't taken any short positions, by the way. A lot of people are asking me if we took a short on Ethereum or Bitcoin. I have yet to take a short. I'm glad I haven't yet. Especially with the strength that Bitcoin is seeing towards 58,353. I don't think it's the time to short just yet. But if we get a confirmation of a rejection here, that could be a different story. But we do have these new market structural levels that we are going to start watching, this channel for Bitcoin, as well as this symmetrical triangle for Ethereum. And I think that that's going to give us an idea of where things are going to go more towards the latter part of this week into the weekend, where the markets are the most manipulated due to CME futures being closed. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And so that's it for today. Until next time, hope you enjoyed today's analysis. I'll see you guys soon. Snipers